Welcome to this explainer. We are diving straight into a fascinating, hidden playbook of human influence today. If you've ever found yourself wondering exactly how major brands, top-tier politicians, or just those naturally influential leaders command so much respect and get people to follow their lead, well, you are in the right place. And here's a hint. They definitely don't do it by begging or demanding attention. They do it using reverse psychology and some incredibly subtle behavioral strategies. So let's unpack how you can actually apply these exact tactics in your everyday life with family, friends, and coworkers. Think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed that the more someone leaves you on read or maybe ignores you on a dating app, the more you kind of obsess over getting their attention? It's wild, right? Why are we fundamentally wired to chase the very people who give us the cold shoulder? It's a big question, and it taps right into our deepest insecurities, whether we're navigating the modern digital dating scene or just trying to casually network at a big corporate event. Well, it really boils down to two distinct social roles, the chaser and the influencer. The chaser shows their wants and needs way too openly. They're overly available, and frankly, they come off a bit desperate. But the influencer, they are calm, they're indifferent, and they hold all the power. See, when you act like the chaser, people feel like you're trying to dominate the interaction with your own needs, and their natural human instinct is just to pull away. The influencer actually draws people in, precisely because they don't seem to need them at all. So in this explainer, we are exposing 7 distinct psychological forces that govern how we interact. This is your playbook. We're going to quickly cover the power of pulling away, strategic scarcity, the rule of reciprocity, the surprising strength of honest vulnerability, sequential commitment, herd mentality, and the challenge frame. Let's jump right into strategy number 1. Social psychologists out at the University of Arizona actually have a name for this pulling away phenomenon. They call it reactance. It's a totally natural human reaction. When people feel like their freedom is being pressured or threatened, they naturally push back and do the exact opposite of what you want. This perfectly explains why an overly eager date or a pushy salesperson literally makes us want to run for the hills. We feel our freedom to choose slipping away, so we rebel. Picture the classic American stereotype of the pushy used car salesman. You know the type, aggressively trying to close the deal, hovering over your shoulder, telling you exactly what you need. It makes you want to leave the lot immediately. Now contrast that with an indifferent luxury broker. They just show you the features, imply that the high-end product speaks for itself, and leave the decision entirely up to you. Salespeople who leave the decision with the customer actually sell far more because they completely bypass the customer's reactance. It sounds totally backward, I know, but the psychological insight here is that if you want people to genuinely value you, you kind of need to act uninterested, even if you are secretly super invested. Reduce your availability. By not acting desperate, you prevent the other person from feeling dominated. This counterintuitive reverse psychology is a hidden skill that actually makes you significantly more attractive and respected. And this dynamic of pulling away leads us perfectly into our second strategy, strategic scarcity. Researchers did this absolutely fascinating experiment where they offered people chocolates from 2 different jars. One jar was packed with 10 chocolates, the other jar had only 2 left. Even though the chocolates were exactly identical, people overwhelmingly preferred the chocolates from the jar with only 2. Our brains are basically hardwired to believe that scarcity equals immense value. This insight is exactly why Black Friday doorbusters cause absolute chaos, and why limited edition sneaker drops literally sell out in seconds. Scarcity signals quality. Translated to your everyday life, this means you shouldn't always be everywhere for everyone. If you're always instantly available, you'll be taken for granted, period. But when you're a bit less available, your presence suddenly feels like a premium experience. All right, to understand the power of our third strategy, the rule of give and take or reciprocity, let's look at a classic American diner experience. Restaurant studies show that when a server leaves just one single mint with your bill, their tip increases by a very modest 3%. It's a nice gesture, sure, but it doesn't really move the needle. But here's where it gets crazy. If they leave 2 mints, the tip doubles. But if the server drops off the bill, walks away, and then returns to say, you know what, for you nice people, here's an extra mint, the tips jump to an unbelievable 23%. It wasn't the mint itself, it was the personal, tailored favor. Humans fundamentally dislike feeling indebted. When you give someone a personalized gift, they feel a burning psychological need to return the favor. The key takeaway here is that people hate feeling indebted. In everyday life, doing a small, unexpected favor for a coworker creates this psychological urge for them to have your back later on. You can use small gifts or genuine compliments to build influence. Just a quick word of caution, though. Keep it in moderation. Overdo the favors, and you cross right back into being overly available. Moving right along to strategy 4, we have to talk about the human ego. Check out this hilarious but deeply true statistic. Nearly 80% of people rate themselves as above average drivers. I mean, mathematically, that is impossible. Only 50% can be above average. But it perfectly highlights our cultural obsession with faking confidence. We naturally want to hide our flaws because we are terrified of looking incompetent to the group. We all know that coworker who just nods along to a corporate acronym they clearly don't understand, right? Because literally everyone fakes knowledge to avoid looking stupid. Pretending to know everything has become the quickest way to destroy trust. People see right through it. Conversely, openly admitting you don't know something is so rare that it becomes a shocking display of strength. It actually makes you look incredibly confident, because insecure people never admit their flaws. So the insight for strategy 4 is that honest vulnerability is actually a powerful trap. When you are open about your limits, people inherently trust you. And here's the kicker. Because they trust your honesty about what you don't know, when you finally do speak up with authority on a subject you do know, your opinions carry exponentially more weight. Just as admitting a flaw builds trust step by step, our 5th strategy relies on a sequential commitment. Humans have a deep-seated preference for consistency. Once we commit to a small action, we are heavily biased to agree to a larger, related request later, just to stay consistent with our past selves. It's basically a 3-step psychological ladder. Secure a minor request, track the progress to prove the commitment, and then ask for the major commitment. You see this literally everywhere. If a person says yes to a tiny, simple task at work, they are way more likely to say yes to leading a bigger project later just to remain consistent. Or if you're trying to lose weight, getting that first small commitment to just track your meals weekly provides evidence of your dedication, making the larger goal feel attainable. The psychological insight? Secure a small yes today to guarantee a big yes tomorrow. This brings us to strategy 6, herd mentality. Imagine you're shopping online. You see a product with one perfect 5-star review, right next to a product with thousands of reviews, but a slightly lower 4.5-star average. Which one are you picking? Almost everyone chooses the one with thousands of reviews. Why? Because we outsource our trust to the crowd. We look to others for cues on how we should behave. The reality is, herd behavior rules us. If a lot of people are doing something, we automatically assume it must be the correct choice. It suddenly makes total sense why classic sitcoms use laugh tracks, doesn't it? Hearing others laugh physically influences our own response, making the jokes seem funnier. So if you want to make an idea persuasive at work, you absolutely must provide social proof. Finally, for our 7th strategy, we are bringing back the concept of reactance, but this time we're framing it as a challenge. Take a look at this simple phrase, "I don't think you can finish your vegetables." It's a classic playful parenting trick, but let me tell you, it works on adults just as well. When a parent tells a picky child they probably can't finish their food, the child accepts the challenge just to prove them wrong. This is the exact same psychology used by elite athletic coaches and corporate managers. By suggesting someone lacks the capability to achieve something, you trigger their reactance. You threaten their ego just a bit, so they push their absolute limits to prove the critic wrong. By betting against them, you actually motivate them to win, and ironically, they end up deeply respecting the person who pushed them. All of this reveals the immense hidden power you now hold. We've walked through the psychology of pulling away, strategic scarcity, reciprocity, vulnerability, sequential consistency, herd mentality, and the challenge frame. These aren't just academic theories, they are the invisible gears turning behind every major social interaction in our lives. Knowing this leaves us with one highly provocative question. Now that you can clearly see the strings being pulled, how will you apply these 7 tools today, and whose behavior will you influence next?